We're live, I think. Yeah, we're live. Okay. Hi guys, so now we can start. So the first thing we're gonna do is have like call to order or roll call. So can someone motion to start the meeting? You guys can like unmute yourself if you're an SGA and do like motion to start meeting, and then we'll have a second and then we can start meeting.
Motion to start meeting.
Awesome. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a second. So meeting is now in session. So we're gonna start with executive board and SGA branch report. So Sam, you can go ahead.
I had to wait for that to come up. So yeah, basically it's been a busy past couple of weeks. There's been a lot going on. We had a meeting with Calvin and Smita where we talked about a few different issues. Specifically, we talked about CARES funding to kind of get more of a status update on that. We talked about, we explored the possibility of getting a SGA member on the search committee for the new vice president of security, which we think is really important because the vice president of security, once they're eventually filled in, because right now we currently don't have one, they'll be pretty key in shaping the security future of JHU, which is something we have a really big interest in making sure it's equitable and everything. So we brought that up. I've been in lots of student advisory committee meetings over the past couple of weeks. Last week I had about 6, which was really fun. Feel free to email me if you have any specific questions about those. And as you all know, the plan for the fall just came out today. It was after about a month of work on like the steering committee part, more than a month. And we're pretty excited that it's out. We're really excited to get feedback. If any of you had feedback, that being SGA members, that being non-SGA members who are here at this meeting, I would love to hear it. I also definitely encourage you to go on the website and use the feedback feature that they have on there to let administrators know your thoughts. This is still a draft plan, so it's not complete. So any and all feedback that we get is really valuable. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this meeting.
Thanks, Sam. Next, it's me. So this past week, all I kind of had to do was have a meeting with Megan and Ananya on how to like rewrite bylaws for like their amendment bill, and that's kind of it. And after this meeting, I'm gonna send out a Google form for like people who are on committees so they can put in their votes for who they voted for like head of committee chair, so we can just have like a collection of that. I forgot to do that last week, so I'll do it after this meeting. So yeah, just make sure you fill it out by the end of this week. Next we have Addie, treasurer.
Hi, so we're still like kind of waiting for information on budgets. So when I have more about that, I'll let you all know. And also this is kind of like a refresher from last time, but about like spam emails. So just make sure that if you get any kind of spam email, like Sam and I got one, just like forward it to IT to make sure that doesn't happen, and like just don't respond or engage with the email. So it's just a little reminder. Thank you.
Thanks, Addie. Next we have Secretary Brianna. You can go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I haven't done much. I made a group me for the CMC. I helped rewrite the bylaws, and I've been really busy with other things. I was on the orientation group, so we're working on planning orientation still, because we don't have like hard set dates 100% that have been released. And then in addition, we are still updating the website. A couple incoming students have told me that the CSV links aren't working, and our running theory is that those open up during election season. That way you can't get your petition forms early. I'm still working on that, and I will hear back soon. In addition, I have been emailing with the historian from the JHU libraries and working on getting all of our SGA stuff in the archives. So you might be getting a message from me about like getting records, that kind of stuff. And then lastly, what's the last thing? Oh, the Google form that we sent out about SGA families. For those of you who don't know, in SGA, we have families, and we're kind of reworking them this year. They used to be groups of 3, but now they're going to be groups that include 1 senior, 1 junior, 1 sophomore, and 1 freshman. Obviously, the freshmen haven't been assigned yet, so don't worry about that. But go to the Slack, fill out that form. We're going to match people based on interest to the best of our ability. You also can set a preference, like, so if somebody really, really wants to be with Mariano, then like put Mariano's name in there, and we're going to try to do the best we can and do that quickly so that you can get your family as fast as possible. And that's all for me.
Thanks, Brianna. So next up, we have class council reports. So we're going to start with sophomores. Or incoming sophomores, I guess.
Hey, I don't think we really have much of a report, but excited to hear that we'll be going back to campus and like having a definite date on that.
Yeah. Awesome. Next, we're going to have incoming juniors.
God, I'm never going to get used to juniors. Hi y'all. So nothing much to report either. We did have a meeting this week, but it was basically just to go over kind of general junior class council logistics, our finances, that kind of stuff. If we have any further updates, it's all going to be kind of reliant on what the student life guidance is that comes out. And so we're kind of looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Next, we have incoming seniors. So,
Hey all, last time senior class council met, we talked about just some general expectations for how things we want run for the future. We also talked about just kind of like all the things that need to go right if we do want to have boat crews, but it doesn't seem like it's really going to happen. And we are just working on logistics and making sure that we're going to hit the ground running in the fall. And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. Next, we have committee reports. So we're going to start with Academic Affairs, Senator Agenda and Senator Zhang.
Hi, everyone. So Academic Affairs has been busy planning out fall academics. So we had a meeting on 6/18 to discuss academic equity and other stuff like that with administration. We later shared a proposal advocating for more emphasis on incoming freshmen and incoming transfer students, streamlining test taking, and increased support for academic support programs like Learning Den and Pilot. We also made an Instagram at JHU SGA Academic Affairs, so please go and follow us, and we'll be providing updates through that. And we also touched base with Ariane Kelly in Pilot and Dr. Argamaso in Study Consulting. I think Cece can tell you more about that.
Yeah, so we just started reaching out to the directors of our different programs. So we have Pilot, Study Consulting, and the Learning Den for freshmen who might be listening. Go check those out. So we're working in collaboration with them to create a kind of a guide, like a how-to for Hopkins. So depending on what you might need or what you're struggling with, we're trying to put all of that together, and hopefully we're going to get that online and everywhere on social media by the end of July. So be on the lookout for that. Alternatively, if you're a sophomore, junior, or senior, and you want to help us work on this, feel free to email me. My email is nzhang, NZHANG37 @jhu.edu. We're always looking for new input on how we can do this better. With the upcoming year, it's going to be especially hard to be able to stay connected and be able to have all the support that we usually do. So be on the lookout for that, but also come to me if you have any ideas that might be able to help us. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. Next, we have civic engagements to Senator Wong and Senator Lee.
Yeah, so me and Jada met last week to line out our expectations for the summer and throughout the year, and also just flesh out a couple of goals and go through last year's meeting minutes and what happened and how everything went. So we've lined out a couple of main goals, and we're planning to have a committee meeting the week of the 5th.
And just to further share what ideas we're thinking about, so we're hoping to establish 3 goals. We want a student engagement goal, a university engagement goal, and a community or Baltimore-wide engagement goal. This is still tentative, still in the works. Some of the ideas we're thinking about include allowing more conversations between students, helping with the election drive, working with policies that have to do with the free speech at Hopkins, a potential activism fair or civic engagement fair, allowing orientation to be more focused on both the community as well as the parts that are touristy, and other plans are in the works as well. The reason we're doing that is because being able to meet people who are not in your race or your socioeconomic class is not only beneficial for connections, but it's also beneficial for social mobility, as the research demonstrated from the stuff I've looked at before. If you have any ideas or would like to be a part of the process, we would love to have you. Here's my email. Grace, can I show your email too?
Oh,
Kate, can you send your email in the chat as well so I can include it in the notes?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Same with you, Grace, if you're chill with that.
okay. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to have finance. So Senator, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
Hi, hope everyone's doing well. There's not much to report. I met with Addie this past weekend, and we discussed how we were gonna our ideas to improve the annual allocation process to become semesterly. That's pretty much it.
Awesome, thank you. Next, we're gonna have health, safety, and sustainability. So Senator Chen and Senator Tai.
Hi guys, so from HSS, we just have a couple things. We're gonna have a quick meeting in the future on the Instagram account and how we're gonna be doing our socials this year. And then we'll also gonna be having a meeting about how to create like the application for our general body members. Quick definition, general body members is basically a non-senator who wants to be part of our committee. So yeah, that's all that is from us. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we're gonna move on to internal affairs. President Cho.
Hey guys, so Internal Affairs convened about a week and a half ago to finalize our judiciary nominees who will be being confirmed today. Big thanks to Sam Mullen for literally facilitating that entire process for us and making that super easy. And so, yeah, that's what we've been up to. And we are, well, yeah, that's it for now.
Oh, awesome, thanks. Next, we have student org. So Senator Kalahasti and Senator Chan.
Yeah, we've done a lot since our last GBM, since we got our entire committee confirmed, committee chairs, everything confirmed, but we've had 2 committee meetings and basically put together the framework for the reform bill for student org liaisons today that's being voted on, and finished writing the bill and voting on it.
Awesome, I'm excited for that. Next, we have student services. So President Singleton.
Hey, I just wanted to take a second to talk about non-Senate members of committees. Student Services is one of those committees where you don't have to be an SGA senator to be involved, and we definitely encourage you to be involved, whether you're a senator or not. So all of our meetings will be broadcast. If they are on Zoom, the link will be open to everyone. And if they're in person, we normally try to make them in a public place. Like normally we have them in Brody Cafe if we're on campus, but I just wanted to say that that will continue, and that even if you aren't a part of the Senate and you just want to be involved or kind of know what SGA is doing, Student Services is definitely a place you can do that. And we're open to any questions, and I'll drop my email in the chat too. So that's about it.
Awesome, thanks, Anthony. Okay, next we're gonna move on to caucus report, starting with the Black Caucus. So Senator Wittatella.
Hello, everyone. These past few days, even though we didn't have time to actually formally do a vote to pass Nathan's resolution within our caucus, we were able to unofficially review it, and there was nothing but support for the resolution. So for what it's worth, in my opinion, it's a very strong bill, and you guys should definitely vote for it. And that's all.
Thanks, Paul. Okay. Next we have the X Caucus. So Executive Secretary Saldatella, or Telly, sorry.
We actually haven't had a chance to meet yet because I don't know what's going on with student orgs. Sometime in late July, I'm going to start sending out interest to get some more people on there. If you're interested in helping out with the Latinx caucus or the Hispanic caucus, just feel free to shoot me an email and we can help get some members on that. But otherwise, nothing to report.
Awesome. Thanks, Brianna. Next, we have Women and Gender Minorities Caucus. So Senator Zhang.
Yeah, same here. We're pretty, I guess we're chilling out for the summer until we can get promote ourselves to new students in the fall. But if anyone wants to join now, our Slack is pretty quiet, but you can join and read our channels and stuff. So I'll drop my email in the Zoom chat as well.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so next up we have our advisor report. So Calvin, you're up.
Hey, good evening. We had a student org webinar on Friday, so if you did not have a chance to view that, please take a look at it. You can see the live stream on Facebook on the SLI website. I also just want to announce again that we are shifting platforms, engagement platforms from campus labs to campus groups. That will launch on August the 1st. So you will be sending out information over the next month about features to look forward to and trainings that will be coming up in August. And I also want to welcome a presidential fellow who was a recent graduate of JHU. Her name is Jenna Muskovitz, who is the presidential fellow in student leadership and involvement, and she'll be working with us this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Calvin.
You're welcome.
So next, we'll just move into new business. The first thing we have are judiciary confirmations. So Executive President Mullen and Senator Cho will present them, and you guys have like 5 minutes to present it, and I'll pull it up on my screen. So let me start screen sharing real quick. Okay. And I'll present. And you guys just let me know whenever you want me to move on to the next slide.
Cool. So I'm just going to give kind of like a brief background on this, and then we'll go through each of the nominees. As you all know, and for those of you who don't know, SGA has a judiciary. They serve as a body of last appeal for matters concerning elections and student organizations and other SGA matters. So we originally did a approval process at the end of the spring, but there were a few different significant errors that we had to redo it. Those included mainly that GPAs weren't verified and that we didn't have quorum. But I redid the process once I took office, and now everything's great. I reviewed all of the applications that were previously submitted to make sure that everybody continued to have the chance to serve on judiciary. I did initial rounds of cuts, then I interviewed all of the applicants that got through into the second round, and then I presented those applicants to the Internal Affairs Committee, and we worked together to deliberate on our top 4 candidates, which are these 4 candidates. All of their full-time status and GPA were verified for eligibility. We have enough senators here that we should be able to get quorum. You all had the chance to review these nominees in advance. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this process done.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, next slide. It's my pleasure to introduce our 4 nominees. We have Yadiel Rodriguez, class of 2022. We should have Ashik Balodia, also class of 2022, and Ria Jain, same class. And lastly, we have Hertamber Chakraborty of 2023. And next slide. So yeah, Yadiel, some relevant experiences. He was actually an intern for Congresswoman Frederica Wilson of Florida, super cool, and also served as vice president of High School Key Club, where he also served under like internal affairs matters and sort of things like that out. Our next nominee is Ashik. He's actually a staff writer for the Hopkins Law Review, which is super cool, and he's also the chair of graphic design. And the Hopkins Law Review looks through lots of literature and publications that is related to law. So that's super cool. Thank you, Ashik, for your application. We have Ria Jain, actually also part of the law review and editor. She also served as a research intern studying civil and tribal law in Jordan. And that was really cool to hear about in your application. Go Ria. And lastly, we have Hertamber. He actually was lobbying at the New York Senate to get Diwali approved as a state holiday. And he went through a lot of struggles and communications because they didn't at first approve him. So it was really interesting to read about his experiences. And yeah, thank you guys for applying, and we'd like to welcome you guys to this confirmation.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna stop screen sharing. Okay, so now we can go into discussion or Q&A or go on to vote. So if you're a Senate member, you can like motion for any of these, and then we would need a second.
Motion to vote?
Motion to vote. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, we're gonna move into voting procedure, but before we do that, we need like yes or no's for this. So all in favor, go to your like participants thing and just click the yes check button, and then we can move into voting procedure. So this is not voting on them yet. This is just voting to go into procedure. Okay, I think we have.
I will call you out if you don't vote, just so you know.
Oh, and if you're going to abstain, then you can just go and hit like the away or time button on like the more area underneath participants.
Yeah, we have enough. We're good to move into voting procedure.
Okay, guys, so now we are in voting procedure.
If I could just interrupt quickly, a few non-Senate members here click to vote. Don't do that. Only senators can vote. It just confuses things if you vote, and we have to double check. So yeah, just thank you.
Yeah, what Sam said. Okay, so now we're in voting procedure. So all in favor of confirming the nominees to the judiciary, please hit the yes checkmark button. If you're abstaining, go to more and hit the away button. And if you are not in favor, then you can hit the no button. And then whenever Brianna gets a vote count, she'll announce.
Again, we have more yes votes than we do senators here. If you're not a senator, don't click the yes button. If you continue to have the yes button clicked, you will be removed because non-senators aren't allowed to vote. I'll call you out if you want.
I will
I think
PM them.
Angela
Okay.
might have her yes on.
He's trying, the person who has it up is trying to shut it down. They private messaged me. Hold up, sorry. Alrighty.
It's okay.
I think that's everybody. From what yeah, that's everyone.
All right, it unanimously passes. Little gal.
Yeah.
Congrats to the judiciary nominees. All right, next up, we're gonna have a faculty against private police presentation. So if the faculty member would like to now identify themselves, you guys can turn off your mic or like turn on your video. That's okay. If you're not here, then that's also fine. We can move on to the next thing on our agenda. Okay, so I guess since the faculty member is not here, we're going to move on to the next thing on our agenda, which is the Student Organization Liaison Procedure Reform presented by Senator Chien and Senator Kalahasti. So I'll pull that up on my screen and then you guys will have 5 minutes to present it.
Cool. So the name of our bill is called the Student Org Liaison Procedure Reform, and basically what it is a continuation from last year. Basically what happened was last year there was an idea that came out where we want to have these quote unquote liaisons, which are basically like a point person for student orgs to like ask questions about how to do this or that. And so basically what this bill is doing is like actually assigning and ironing out that procedure of how to assign student orgs to those liaisons. So past section 1, title, and section 2, definitions. We're at section 3, finding and purposes. Going through this really quickly. Basically, it was inspired by COVID to start assigning orgs earlier, but we hope to continue this because we would like to increase the amount of communication between orgs and the student body. The other important part is that we would like to exclude first years simply because we feel that they already have a lot on their plate to deal with college campus and adjusting to life and all of that. And they might not be as suited or like as familiar with procedures on campus, and they may not be able to answer questions as well as other senators. And let's see, in this last part. Oh, and last idea is that we would like to have CSO members take on more student orgs than non-CSO members, just because in the interest of time, people who are already part of CSO will have time allocated, and so we don't want to step on other people's feet. And last, section 4.
Yeah, section 4 just highlights the potential changes. So first block of highlighted text says senators belonging to CSO are going to take on a few more orgs, and that freshman class senators won't be paired. Second block of text changes the timeline, so it makes it mid-July instead of September after freshman class council is inaugurated, and then third highlight just changes that timeline accordingly. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. So now we can either have a motion for like a moderate caucus or a motion for Q&A or a motion to go into voting procedures. So if anyone wants to unmute themselves. Oh yeah. And Brianna, if you have a clarifying point, you can go ahead and speak now.
For people who don't know, CSO is the Committee on Student Org, which is one of the committees within SGA. That's all.
Okay, so if anyone wants to make a motion, you guys can go ahead. I recommend motion to a moderate caucus if you guys want, but I can't make a motion. I can just make recommendations.
Motion for a moderate caucus.
Awesome. Could I get a second for that?
Second.
And Suba, how many minutes and how many seconds did you want your moderate caucus? Like, you could say like a 5-minute moderate caucus with like 30-second speaking times or something like that.
Yeah, let's go with 5 minutes and 30-second speaking times.
Okay. Suba, since you suggested it, you're first on the speakers list, so you can go ahead.
I would just like to kind of ask, do you guys know how each senator or CSO member would be assigned to an organization?
We've talked about it, but we haven't like formalized anything. We will probably take more committee input and potentially full Senate input before we do decide. But the working idea I think that we've primarily discussed so far is pairing people to orgs that they're already familiar with so that they have that rapport with leadership and have that insider knowledge on like how those orgs work, so that we're not pairing senators to orgs they've never interacted with before and having to learn from ground zero how to work with those groups.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else want to raise their hand to like be added to mod? Okay, so Brianna, raise her hand. Brianna, you can go next.
I just have a couple of concerns with this. First off, I know when we first discussed this, we covered the fact that if people are already like for example, I'm part of the fire spinning club. So if I'm the student org liaison for that, where there's been concerns about conflict of interest, do you guys have a plan to address that so that people aren't getting more like, so there's no biased treatment in here? And then my other thing is about first years, but I'll wait until after you answer. Whoever wants to answer.
So in terms of conflict of interest, we were honestly thinking of it more as in like the negative conflict of interest, as in like if for some reason you had some sort of like really bad rapport between you and like the student leader, we didn't want that to like be a discouragement for reaching out and contacting us. So that was mainly our like concern. But in terms of positive or like conflict of interest or bias, to be honest, we hadn't really taken that into consideration, because if anything, we would think that that would be like a stepping stone to ask questions in SGA. But I'm curious to know like what your concern is, if you could elaborate a bit more.
Yeah, and then my other point with first years, because I was a first year last year, is I don't think it's necessarily fair to exclude them from this process, because there's plenty of like sophomores, juniors, and seniors who haven't ever been in SGA before and who might not be familiar. And I know personally when I was a first year, because I was brand new to the school and life in general, I worked really, really hard when I was part of CSO as well, to understand everything on there. Plus coming in, since they don't already have other commitments to orgs, they might not be as like, they might be able to dedicate more time. In addition, I feel like juniors and seniors honestly might be more overwhelmed than freshmen, because y'all have like MCATs and figuring out stuff after college and that mess. Plus, it'll take some of the pressure off of other SGA members if there's another 7 people to help be point people. Sorry, I don't know if that made sense, but that was my point.
No, that totally made sense. We have talked about the freshman point a lot, both between the two of us and within committee. Basically, the conclusion we came to was that, you know, we're not entirely sure what the next year is going to look like, especially for incoming first years, in terms of like the way student orgs are going to look for the next year, the way their engagement with student orgs is going to be able to look. And we decided that, first of all, since we want to pair early, it eliminates like a logistical barrier in that if we're able to just pair groups now, we don't have to take into account the incoming first years we're potentially going to have in SGA in September. And we don't have to then like repair organizations with those people and have to change, have to change their liaison and like halfway through the summer, the semester. And then it means that we also don't have to worry about what is going to happen with the first years in terms of like the way that their engagement is going to look on campus, the way that piece is going to look. And the second thing is that, we don't doubt how hard first years work. I think all of us can agree that, first years tend to work the hardest out of the 4 years here because they are the most fresh to this environment. But given that most first years haven't fully understood the way that like the student org process works, even if they're not in SGA or even if they are in SGA compared to upperclassmen who might not have been in SGA previously, but yeah, Brianna, this is low-key a Q&A, but have more experience working with student orgs from their own perspective and from their own experiences. So we felt like even if they didn't have Senate experience in the past, just having worked with student orgs in the past made them, I don't want to say a more valuable asset, but gave them more experience to be able to go off of in being liaisons than coming in fresh to the environment.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Brianna. Okay, so up next we have Anthony, then we have me, then we have Katie, then we have Nancy, then we have Nathan, and then we have Calvin. Unless Calvin, you have a clarifying point or point of order.
I can wait till the end.
Okay. All right. So Anthony, you can go ahead. You have 30 seconds.
I just wanted to say that I think one potential concern that I have with it as it's set up now is kind of what Brianna was saying. If you already cut the freshmen out and then you add on to what CSO members have to, like the amount of groups that they have to oversee above what other centers do, I think it's almost putting a lot of burden on them. And I feel like kind of a middle line between what you two are saying is maybe have a reduced amount of orgs, like 1 or 2 orgs that freshmen oversee, so that it's not overbearing for them as they're learning the process, but also they can get involved in the process. And that's a way for them to learn. Like, I think that would be a nice middle ground between what you two are saying.
Thanks, Anthony. All right, I guess I'm up next. I want to echo what Anthony said because I feel like if you're a freshman and you come in, it's like a really great opportunity to like get involved and you can like meet people in like other clubs and like you can think about joining those clubs since you already have like a point of contact with them. And I also feel like freshmen are kind of more motivated in SGA, not like to say that other people aren't, but since they're like fresh and like they're new, they're kind of like, yes, let's go for it. So I feel like it would be like a great opportunity for them, and it would like also take off the burden from like CSO. Like I know that's what they signed up for, but like some people might just not have the amount of time that other people have to put like into like student orgs because they're on other committees too. So I was just wondering if you guys would consider making a friendly amendment to your bill, like if you guys want to get it passed today.
Yeah, actually, we're in terms of like friendly amendments about freshmen. There are like kind of 2 ideas that we're playing with. So like one is like the one that Anthony Mehek was suggesting of like just giving freshmen fewer orgs. The other one we were thinking about was having freshmen kind of like be an add-on to like existing liaisons, if that makes sense. So that there isn't like a necessarily a reassignment kind of deal, but it's just like, oh, you have an additional SGA person now. So
can I add another friendly amendment that's been proposed? The other one that's been proposed to us was to have freshmen not take on orgs first semester and potentially transfer off some of the CSO members' orgs to freshmen when we get around to the spring. So that way they've had that 1 semester to sort of see how things are running, get acclimated to stuff that's going on before they have to take on orgs. So I think those are the 3 ideas that we've heard.
Okay. Do you guys think that you could put the friendly amendments like in a note on your bill on the side in case we choose to go with those said friendly amendments when you go into voting procedure? So it would make it like easier for us to just add on and vote on it like within the next like 10 minutes. Do you guys get what I'm saying?
Yep, I'll add a comment right now of the 3 options.
Awesome. Okay. Up next we have Katie. Katie, you can go ahead.
Hi. I'm happy to hear that there were the 3 additional options for amendments. I just, at the time I raised my hand, I just wanted to comment on what was already said. I think it's good to include incoming freshmen. As someone who was not an incoming freshman, but it was still my first year because I was a transfer student. I think I'm coming in with that new energy of really want to try different things. I think that excitement is very useful. And like Mehek said, and it's stronger than that desire to just be a part of something just because you want to put it on your resume. So I think by allowing incoming freshmen to be a part of it, we give an opportunity, there's more of an opportunity to include people who are resilient and proactive, like Brianna talked about, the people who put in the work to actually want to understand the organizations and not be afraid to enter something just because they're new to it. And I think by allowing incoming freshmen to be a part of it, that's a really good opportunity to bring up some really strong leaders.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Up next, we have Nancy. Nancy, you can go ahead. Hello? Nancy? Can you hear us? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I forgot I was muted. I definitely think all of your concerns are super valid, and we definitely discussed them at length. And I think
잔디가 너무나 잘 자라고 있어.
and I think sorry, is someone else talking? But anyways, I think that as a senior who has been part of many groups, I can say that my enthusiasm has not waned. In fact, it's actually even, I guess I have more fire in me to make things better. The issue, I think, especially with COVID going on right now is if you're an incoming freshman, first, right, we have to get you acclimated to whatever's going on. Second, I think there's a layer within managing groups, within managing the student organizations in general that only comes with experience. I'm not trying to disregard the fact that you're enthusiastic and you're willing to learn, but honestly, the truth is there are things that people who have more experience definitely will know right off the bat, and we don't have to explain it to them, right? We can just go ahead and start working. Our goal this semester, I don't think should be really we have additional challenges that we don't have in the normal year. So I agree that this is something that we definitely should put as an amendment, and whenever we resolve this whole COVID thing, that it should definitely be heavily emphasized. But right now we're in this sort of weird transition that we don't even know what's going on, and so having to add an extra layer and worry about that right now, to me, honestly, isn't really as feasible. So those are just my thoughts.
Right. Thank you, Nancy. Next, we have a clarifying point from Brianna. Brianna, what was your point?
The point is basically for speakers list, if you want to be added to the speakers list, just raise your hand. If you are a non-Senate member who wants to have their point brought up, message one of the co-hosts and they will say it on your behalf if feasible. And then try to keep your points concise if possible. Also, feel free to talk just so that the notes make sense. And there was something else, but I forgot it. So just message me if you have questions and I will try to answer. I think that was the bottom line because I don't want any confusion here. All right, you're good.
All right. Thank you. All right, next we have Nathan. Nathan, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so kind of going off what others had said, I just kind of wanted to say that I think both points are really valid, and I think are really great solutions found in one of the solutions that Megan proposed. And I know we talked about this at length at the student org meeting about having the underclassmen and upperclassmen paired with an org. So you kind of have the underclassmen still involved, but you can have the upperclassmen there if they need guidance. The only thing I might suggest to change about that is actually have more of a primary and secondary role. So it is the freshman's primary, they're the primary advisor for whatever the org is, but you could have some kind of a secondary advisor that even the freshmen could turn to if they had some clarifying question that they needed answered in their process of supporting the organization.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. Next, we have Calvin.
So I just wanted to point out a couple of things. The first thing is, and it's more of a question than a comment, is this bylaw that you all are proposing a change to the bylaw that was submitted last semester? That's my first question. And then I just want to contextually talk about one of the things that came from that previous bill was that each senator would have an even amount of groups because it is difficult for the CSO to manage the number of groups that the university has. So reducing that number by removing freshmen from that pool just increases the load on the Committee on Student Organizations to manage the number of groups. We're talking about 400 plus groups for 25 people. It is a lot to do. So I would encourage you to really think about the load management of those groups if you're having individual touch points with each of the groups that you manage. But again, my larger question is this bylaw changing the one that was passed in the spring?
Um,
I'll take it. Okay, cool. So the main change is that originally the bill said that the assignments would happen in the first week after freshman orientation, and so that we want to change that to earlier during the summer, especially given COVID. We want to like tell student orgs everything that's going on and everything that they need to know as soon as possible.
Okay.
So that's the primary change. And as
So,
for,
go ahead.
oh, and as for like how explicitly we're going to like pair the orgs to liaisons, there's no mention of that in the original bill, so it's not
Okay.
either.
Okay. That was what I understood it to be. And then I think the last thing would be, in terms of experience, there are a lot of things that are going to change or be adjusted. Many of you won't have experience on knowing how to handle them. So I don't know that because someone is a first-year student, they won't be able to pick up the information to help students navigate if they engage. A lot of things will be different going into the fall. So I just put that out there from a experience might not be a reason to not have them engaged.
Gotcha. Cool. I can add a friendly amendment option to just honestly just exclude the first year part, because we didn't have that in the beginning, but it was more something like an idea that came up. And like we said, like every committee that we've ever like met with or like people who've talked to, there's always been like that concern about excluding first years. So just in general, like, I guess to all who's like in this call or like senders, like if you guys want, we can definitely add that fourth option.
All right. Thanks, Megan and Calvin. Next we have me, and then we have Ananya, Brianna, and then Julia. Okay, so I'm gonna bring up some points that some of the public input or like the public sent me. So one person said that they agree with Cece that adding freshmen might be counterproductive because even though enthusiasm is great, having to teach freshmen through hands-on experience while everything with COVID and that's going on, we may have to deal with more issues popping up than not with adding freshmen. And then someone else sent me their point. They said, for the whole freshmen and orgs thing, another thing to consider is that I think that freshmen right now are the only ones with confirmed on-campus housing, so that freshmen are the ones with the most access to on-campus clubs and such, and just assigning council members for the first semester before we start transitioning throughout the semester to periodically take the load off and such. So I think they were trying to say that it'd be better to add like freshmen to like student orgs, like assigning with like senators and like clubs, because they have like access to it, and like if they need help, I guess like they could partner up with like an upperclassman. So those are just the public input stuff, but yeah. All right, next we have Ananya.
I just have two quick things. The first one is that the original intent, so Megan and I originally didn't have the piece about freshmen in this bill. The reason that somebody in the committee brought it up was basically from perspective of groups who might not feel as comfortable reaching out to first years within like the first 3 months of them getting on campus, in terms of like the knowledge or experience that they might have, or how comfortable groups are feeling like, oh, I got assigned a freshman, I don't know if they're going to know the answers to my questions, so I might as well not ask them type of thing. But I think that having freshmen paired with liaisons does probably most effectively solve for that, so that way we can kind of transition them in. The only question that I ask is like a general question, is that one of the secondary reasons we originally didn't include freshmen is that if we want to pair liaisons to orgs in like the next 2 or 3 weeks, then somebody has to take all of those orgs that are eventually going to get paired to freshmen later on in the semester once we do elect and then inaugurate them. So I'm curious to see if anyone like would want to propose a friendly amendment to address that, or how they would foresee that happening in terms of, do we put those extra orgs on CSO? Do we put those extra orgs on all senators across the board and then just send them an email saying, hey, we've changed your liaison, like within the next 2 or 3 months, or how people would foresee that happening most effectively if we don't just pair freshmen with already existing liaisons, and if we actually do transition some groups to having freshman liaisons.
All right, thank you, Ananya. Next, we have Brianna, Julia, Nathan, Calvin, and then Kadai. So, Brianna, you're up next.
Thanks. So again, I'm just going to kind of re-say what I said before. I think it's really unfair to discount the incoming students from knowing things before they've even like been elected or thought about running. And I really like what Calvin pointed out. Everything is changing. So even people who've been in CSO for 3 years, things are going to be different. Plus, I know like most of the senior and junior class council are people who are new to SGA this year, and we changed a lot about SGA last year. So those people are going to have the same level of experience as freshmen, and we're going to have to reteach everyone anyways. And instead of having to reteach the upperclassmen and sophomores and then having to reteach the freshmen in spring, I think it'd be better if everybody learns together. That's also going to, in my opinion, I think that's going to help include the freshmen, because we had an issue last year with the freshmen or the incoming students. Me, my class council had an issue with feeling very lost about what we were supposed to do and what our responsibilities are, and having something set where everyone's learning, like, this is your responsibilities, this is something that's going to be happening for the next 4 years or however. That would really help, and I think it'll start everybody off on level footing so nobody feels excluded. In addition, Ananya, I really like your idea, since the freshmen won't have been elected yet by the time you're doing this, and with COVID, we do want to have them actually elected. I think it would be an okay idea for CSO members perhaps to take on that extra load until the freshmen get elected, and then the freshmen can work with the CSO members for 2 weeks to get all the transition stuff. They can ask the CSO members if they're confused about anything while they're still learning. And then eventually by a month or 2 into being elected, they will have sole control over that. And yeah, that's basically when I was a first year, how I learned was I went to CSO meetings and I messaged Calvin every single week with questions about what the heck orgs were, because orgs at Hopkins are really complicated and there's a lot of them. And I think it's unfair if everybody doesn't get the same training, not just to us, but also to the orgs that we represent. That's all for now.
Thanks, Brianna. Okay, next we have Julia. All right, and then after Julia, it's Nathan, Calvin, Kadai, and then Megan, and then we're gonna bring the moderator caucus to a close, or someone can motion for another one after that. All right, you can go ahead, Julia.
Yeah, when I raised my hand, Ananya hadn't gone yet, so she pretty much said what I wanted to say. But basically, I think on CSO, when we were discussing this issue, I think one of the biggest things was the reassigning bit, because we pushed the date for assigning liaisons to July rather than in the fall. I feel out of the amendments that were suggested, maybe the one where the freshmen get to work with current senators to handle the same group of orgs is probably the best idea, because it's splitting the work, but also that you can back each other up, and it's probably the best way for us to do this. But that's just my opinion. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. Next we have Nathan, and I also want to bring up that for a bylaws amendment to pass, we need 2/3 vote from Senate. So yeah, that's it. All right, you can go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, kind of just going off of Julia's point, I just wanted to mention, I threw an amendment, a suggested amendment in the bill if people want to review it, basically talking about what we've gone over, that freshman senators would be assigned to orgs and then have the senator originally assigned to that org kind of retained as an advisor to that senator. So it's something I would motion for, but I think since we're in discussion, I can't, but just something for people to keep in mind, just to kind of see it spelled out what it would look like.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Next we have Calvin.
I just want to clarify on 2 points, or get a clarity on 2 points. My understanding, and again, this language might not be specific in the bill, but the person who wrote the bill was that there was going to be a touch point from the senator to the org every semester, not that the org would reach out to the senator. That's the first thing. And I forgot the second thing.
I can address the first thing. I don't we definitely would like that to continue. Is there a place where we wrote the opposite?
I don't know that that's the case. I heard somebody say the org reach out to the senator. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, that it's the responsibility of the senator to reach out to the org. And then the second thing,
section 4, part part 9.
Okay,
Removals, subsection 1. This part.
Okay. And then the second part, and I want to make sure that we all are on the same page with this. Remember that this summer may be an anomaly. You may not be meeting in the summer in future years. This is the first time that you all have met during the summer. So you may be setting a precedent by saying you're choosing these groups in the summer before first year students come.
Yeah, and like another option is that since it is a possibility that future SJs won't meet in summer, we can just have those like certain groups of student orgs and just like continue them like being in the same group, but just change the senator. But that's like a logistic that we haven't thought that far ahead yet because we're just trying to do the first year. But yeah, no, that's definitely a good point.
Okay, that was it.
Thank you. Okay, awesome.
Okay, thank you, Calvin. Next we have Kadai. Kadai, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so for the summer, could I have a small summary of the potential solution of bringing in incoming freshmen if they were to be included?
Yeah. Oh, you got it. Oh, no, you go. Yeah, you got it.
No, I was just saying, Megan, go ahead. You have them written.
Oh, okay. I guess we're having a couple of options. It's in the Google Doc in the comments. I don't know if you can see it though. I'll just read it real quickly. So, oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So there are those four, and then Nathan's amendment is basically like number 3. Nathan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I just wanted to say that yeah, I think I don't know if this has to be decided by tonight, but I feel like since there's amendments, if it'd be a good idea to kind of sit on it for a bit and think of a solution that brings on people well, because this would be a systematic proposal that would affect like the whole year, right? And but yeah, when I wanted to talk, Brianna had already said what I wanted to. I just wanted to reemphasize that I think there are a lot of people who are resilient. You know, I was in a PRIO with mostly freshmen, and actually most of their friends were also freshmen. And so I met a lot of freshmen that year, and I felt like a lot of them are capable of being proactive and asking questions. And like yes, maybe some people might need more time to figure it out, but I don't think we should at least discourage the proactive people from taking part. So I think having a mentorship sort of like pairing program, I think that's a really creative idea, and it helps build relationships. And that transition phase has to happen sometime. So I think having it happen early on rather than later is better. There's studies that show that when organizations make changes, the reworking and fixing of their problems costs like exponentially more than doing it right in the beginning. So I think if we're going to do it right, let's start it from the beginning. And that will give the opportunity for people who are ready, who want to be there, and who aren't afraid of doing the hard work to show up. And I think we'll have a really strong group of leaders.
Awesome. Thank you, Kadai. Okay. Up next we have Megan, and then we're gonna close our moderator caucus and someone can motion for another one. But I just wanna bring up like a point of order, or like kind of like a straw poll, just ask like Megan, which one of these like amendments do you think we should like friendly amend the bylaws? Like which one are you guys leaning towards right now after hearing feedback from everyone? Because we can only one.
I think I'm more towards like pairing. But also I'm between like pairing and also just giving first years their orgs.
I am leaning towards pairing so that it eliminates the reassigning hassle.
Okay, awesome. All right, so up next we have Megan. Megan, you can go.
So the last thing I just want to say is I just want to point out or emphasize that this whole thing about excluding first years, it wasn't like originally a thing about like inexperience or anything. It was mainly because of like logistically, we didn't want student orgs to get confused on their side, because it's like over the summer it's like, oh, this is your SJ person, and then like a month or two later it's like, actually you have a new person now. So that was like the logistics side is more our original concern, and all of this like other reasoning was just stuff that we thought that came later to like to help reason for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, so our moderator caucus has come to a close. So we can either motion for another moderator caucus, a Q&A session, or move into voting procedure with the friendly amendment that Nathan put in.
Yeah, can we motion for the amendment?
I second that.
And the addition.
Okay, seconded. Okay, all in favor of the friendly, or actually we don't have to vote on a friendly amendment. Like if Megan and Ananya already put it in, then like we can just vote on it like that.
So they didn't. So if they're cool with it, it can be friendly, but it's up to them.
Oh yeah. So if you guys are okay with that, then is it like it would be considered your friendly amendment though, Megan and Ananya?
Yeah, I'm okay with it completely. Just to reiterate reiterate to everybody, it's the pairing idea.
Yeah, it's what Nathan
put on the bill, you know, or are aware.
All right, awesome. Okay, so now, so that's the friendly amendment. So now, if someone wants to motion on something, you guys can like unmute yourself and just like motion for something.
I have a point of information. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
So point of information, a friendly amendment is something where the bill writers are totally like chill with changing their bill. And it's not necessarily, it's another amendment, which I'm not going to call an unfriendly amendment, but that's like what it is basically when the bill writers are like, hey, I want this to look this way. And everyone else is like, actually, we're only going to pass it if it looks that way. So then we vote and see if we can outvote and see if the majority of the people want to include that amendment. Somebody feel free to clarify that if there's still confusion. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, if it passes with a friendly amendment, we don't need to vote on it. If the bill writers don't want to include something inside their bill, it will automatic, like they don't have to. And then when we move into voting procedure, if it passes, then it passes. And if it fails, then it fails. And then they kind of go back to the drawing board and redo it. But since it's a friendly amendment, since Megan and Nanya said, okay, if we vote on it, that's what's going to be added. So yeah, if anyone wants to motion for anything, you guys can do it now.
Can we motion to vote?
Yeah. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Seconded. Okay. All in favor of moving into voting procedure, please go and click the yes check mark thing.
A quick point of information while everyone's voting. I just took out a portion in section 3 that was originally explaining why we decided to exclude first years. So just a clarification on why that's striked out.
Can you share the screen with the bill, please?
I'll share the screen, yeah. Okay.
Alrighty, it looks like almost everybody has voted. Let me just go through and make sure.
Oh wait, so are you guys putting the friendly amendment that freshman senators are assigned a number of orgs equal to that of senators and not the pairing one?
Yes, but it's like in section 3 above, there is this section that was explaining why first years would be excluded completely. So I just X'd that out or like striked it out completely.
Wait.
Megan, can you vote?
Oh, okay. Sorry, the link says the other person is retained. Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome.
I think with Megan, that's everybody.
Okay, so now we're going to move into voting procedure. So if you're in favor of passage of this bylaws amendment, then you go and click the yes. And then if you're not, hit the no. And if you're abstaining, you go to more and you do like the wait button thing. And you can't vote if you're an exec.
Much sad. To clarify, you can abstain if you have a conflict of interest with the bill. For example, if we're writing a bill about, like, I don't know, platypi and you're a platypus, don't vote on that bill. Like that kind of thing. Or a better example is if you're in a student org that we're talking about, like if there's a student org who's passed a bill to get funding, don't vote for that because you have a conflict of interest. Alrighty, it looks like it passes. I'm like halfway through, hold up. Scrolling through all these is so annoying. All right, everyone has voted. Will, did you vote? Yes, you did. Just took a minute. All right, it looks like it passes unanimously.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so the bill passes unanimously. So now that's going to be our bylaws amendment. So we'll update it within like the next 2-3 weeks. Congrats, Ananya and Megan. All right, next up, we're going to move on to the Sga Forum Rules Bill Amendment. So President Mullen is going to present that, and he has 5 minutes to do that. So let me pull it up on my screen. All right, Sam, you can go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. So this is a pretty simple one. Basically, last year there was a bill passed that is linked. Actually, in this bill, it's called the Sga Forum Bill. Anthony wrote it. Basically, it was a great bill. It established a whole process for creating Sga forums in order to get more feedback from the student body and be more connected to the student body. And in that bill, there was one provision that said the 2020 to 2021 Sga shall add a special forum section to the rules bill. That was not in our original version of the rules bill. So me and Mehek created an amendment to get that in there because we want to have it in there. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now anyone can make a motion for anything. So Y'all can go ahead. You can motion for moderate caucus, Q&A, or to move into voting procedure.
Motion to vote.
Motion to vote. Okay, can I get a second?
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor of moving to voting procedure, please go and check like the yes check mark box thing.
All right, I'm counting again. Karen, can you vote?
I think that's
All
unanimous.
right, that's everybody. Everybody has voted.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to move into voting procedure on the bill. So all in favor of the bill passing, go ahead and check the yes button. If you're abstaining, go and click the away button on more. And if you're voting against it, then go ahead and click the no button. I think it passed unanimously, right?
Yeah, it looks like it passed unanimously.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Little gavel.
Clap.
Okay. So we'll add that to our rules bill within the next month. Up next, we have resolution to rename Woodrow Wilson Fellowship and Gildersleeve House. And so, Nathan, you have 5 minutes to present your bill, and it's an awesome bill, by the way. Okay, you can go ahead. I'll put it up on my screen.
Oh, thanks. So yeah, I'll be really quick, but first off, I just want to preface by making this clear that this resolution's like solely addressing a couple of name changes that are really overdue. And far greater, more direct action is needed to combat like the systemic racism present in our community. So I really wanted to make that very clear before we go into this. But you know, I hope that as we look to the future, we also take steps to renounce and reject those parts of ourselves in our community tied down in a past so deeply steeped in racism. So I think this is still very important. So just to quickly summarize, the resolution is in response to Princeton's move to remove Woodrow Wilson's name from their School of Public Affairs and a residential college that they have. It basically just says that Hopkins should follow Princeton's lead and remove Woodrow Wilson's name from the fellowship and from the AMR 1 house. And then also rename Gildersleeve House, because Gildersleeve, for people who do not know, was a Confederate soldier. So yeah, we're going to try to not name things after racists. And so then it also asks that we involve students in the decision making about the names that follow. And just as an FYI, the resolution is supported by the BSU, the African Students Association, and Female Leaders of Color. So yeah, I think that's basically all I have to say. Welcome any feedback. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. Okay, guys. So now you guys can motion for a moderate caucus, a Q&A, or to go into voting procedure. And Brianna, you have a clarifying point, so you can go ahead.
Clarifying point. Resolutions are basically just saying Hopkins' stance on something. So this isn't us being like, hey, we're changing this because we need admin to change that. It's just saying like, hey, I believe that this is something that needs to be done and it is supported by the student government. And since the student government represents all students, it's basically saying this is what students support.
Yeah, we would email it to admin afterwards, or Sam would, and he'll CC Nathan if it gets passed.
Motion to go into voting procedure.
Awesome. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
Awesome. Okay, all in favor of moving to voting procedure, please go ahead and click the yes button. Or if you're opposed, you can hit the no button. Okay, I think we have enough people to move into voting procedure.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to be in voting procedure. So all in favor of the resolution passing, please go ahead and click the yes button. If you're opposed, hit the no button. And if you're abstaining, you can go and hit the away button. It passes, right, Brianna?
I'm pulling it up one more time, just making sure we have every single person. Which, thank you everybody for actually like paying attention. All right, it looks like we have, yep. All right, everybody's voted. It passes unanimously. We're having a good night tonight.
Yeah, okay, so the resolution passes. Congrats, Nathan. Okay, so we'll send this to admin after our meeting. And up next, we have a bylaws amendment presentation by me. I got some questions on how to like make bylaws amendments. And so since we didn't have this in our like SGA training thing, I'm just gonna go through a little bylaws, amendment presentation for the future. Okay. So we don't need a vote on this or anything. I just want to show you guys. My computer's lagging a bit. Okay, so basically how you make a bylaws amendment bill, you start by, well, firstly, a bylaws amendment bill changes our bylaws, so like our constitution. And so for that, we need a 2/3 vote from Senate. And it's just like writing a piece of legislation, but you format it a little differently. And an example is the one Megan and Ananya passed today. So how you format like the bill would be like title, definition, findings and purposes, the original bylaws language. So that would be like the section it's in, like the subsection, and you would like completely take that part of the bylaws and put it inside your bill. So we have like kind of a frame of like what we're working with. And then the next part underneath that would be the proposed bylaws change. So you would kind of copy paste the bylaws, and then you would make the changes that you want to it, and you would highlight the parts that you added or removed. And then afterwards you would add a severability clause, which is like in all of our bills. And so some great examples are the roles and responsibilities of the WGMC Bylaws Amendment 1 and Bylaws Amendment 2. They're like perfect examples. They show how it was like the original bylaws, like one change made to the bylaws and then a second change made to the bylaws, and they're like color coded. So if you guys need like a template, there's that. And here are some pictures from the first bylaws amendment. So it shows like, the findings, the purpose, the original bylaws law language, and then the section where they propose it, like the new bylaws, they basically copy paste it. And then you can see in the yellow that they highlighted the parts that they added. So they just added to this bylaws. And if you were removing a part, you would just put like a line through the original bylaws language. So we would know what part you're removing. And yeah, that's it. So I'm just going to put this inside our SGA folder in case anyone else like needs help with that. We might make a training folder later on for you guys. But yeah, that's it. Okay. And I think that brings our meeting to advancing legislation. So if anyone has any legislation they're going to bring up later or any announcements, you can go and raise your hand, and then I can make a speakers list. And if you don't, that's totally fine too. Okay, so after that, we're just going to move into public input period.
Are we not doing announcements?
Oh yeah, this was advancing legislation and announcements in one. So I said,
oops, I have an announcement. CMC will be opening up applications, not like to be on CMC, but just to use their services. So as a quick reminder, if you have any image services, so obviously we're not taking pictures right now since we're online, but graphic design, that sort of thing, planning things for the future, website design, help with marketing, like literally if you want to promote anything, hit up CMC. Again, this is only for SGA things that are going on, like you can't use them for your own personal stuff, but I will be creating a Google form that you'll fill out. And we're also going to pick a co-chair, and I will send it in the Slack whenever that has been done. That's my only announcement. Oh, also happy Blue Jay Tuesday. Ha.
Oh, yes, happy Blue Jay Tuesday. Okay, so Sam wants to reintroduce the Faculty Against Private Police presentation just so we can get a quick vote on it, even though we didn't have anyone to present it. So we're just gonna do a quick little presentation and vote on whether or not we want to support it. Sam, you got like 5 minutes, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So as many of y'all know, we almost had a private police force and now we don't. It is on a 2-year freeze temporarily. Basically, for some background, there is a group of concerned faculty that created this petition. I believe it has over 6,000 signatures now from students, Hopkins affiliates. And essentially what it's calling for is instead of a 2-year freeze on the private police force, it's calling for just like a complete stop to it. I mean, I personally think that this is something that we should pass because it's just in kind of the moment that we're in now, where we've seen that like a ton of the issues that kind of relate to systematic racism in this country are related to police. When we've seen that there's been huge opposition to the Hopkins police force, when we've seen that oftentimes more policing can lead to more problems. I fundamentally don't think that it makes sense for the university to continue to pursue this private police force, especially around Homewood campus, when there are other possible alternatives to policing that we can pursue, when we have a public health school that's been researching alternatives to policing that could be effective that the university has not chosen to pursue. And I think that now is the moment where we should be working as a student government association and as a student body to kind of like make sure that the university knows that we don't just want a 2-year pause to the police force, we want a permanent pause to the police force. So I definitely think that this is something that we should consider. I would welcome discussion about it. I would welcome a vote on it. I'm excited to hear all your thoughts.
Okay, so now someone can motion for a moderate caucus, a Q&A, or to move into voting. And if we do move into voting, it would be to sign this. So Sam would like go and sign it on behalf of SGA's position on this. But yeah, Brianna, you have a clarifying point or question, you can go ahead.
Sorry, has SGA passed a resolution on this before?
Yes.
I wasn't here. Okay, so SGA has already passed a resolution saying that they do not support the private police force, just for background.
Yeah, it was passed like I think around 2 years ago. It was during the Garland sit-in that we passed it, like towards the end of the year. But yeah, so if anyone wants to make a motion now, you can do so.
I'll motion for a 5-minute moderated caucus with 30 seconds speaking times.
All right, could I get a second?
Second.
Awesome. Anthony, you can be first on the speakers list. And then if anyone else wants to be added, raise your hand.
I just wanted to ask what some of these other options are, because I think one reason why people, like I've heard some people that are in support of it, they say like, okay, well, what is the alternative? So I'd like to hear some of the alternatives to the private police force, and I yield the rest of my time to Sam.
Sam, you can go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do I have, like 20 seconds?
Yeah.
Ish. All right. Yeah. So part of this is why I wish the faculty came to present, because they'd be able to talk about this a lot more than I could. But I know some alternatives off the top of my head are there's a Safe Streets program. I probably won't be able to explain it all in 20 seconds, but I believe basically the idea is that you get trusted members of the community to basically intervene in situations where there could be violence before it happens, to create safer communities. Other than that, I don't know anything off the top of my head, but I do believe there are different alternatives out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. So I'm next on the speakers list. I really think that this is something that we should sign. I mean, like, I personally believe that there shouldn't be a private police force, because I feel like adding more policing to an area where there's like increased, like already the Baltimore like police has been like shown to like enforce police brutality on people of color, like throughout like their city. And I feel like just hiring people from like the Hopkins police, or like from Baltimore police, and like putting them into like Hopkins police, like will just create like kind of more problems. So I think this is a great thing that we should sign. And yeah, if anyone else wants to talk, you can go ahead. Okay, Brianna, you're up next.
So as some of you all may know, I'm part of a group that's not official on campus yet. It's called Leaders for Equitable and Accessible Policies. And last semester we were working towards getting the grading. So we're the ones who were like sitting around all those letters and petitions and meeting with admin and like that kind of stuff. And we've actually met with the faculty who are writing this, and I think Sam's helped with that too. So I was the lead representative to the meeting, and they talked about the private police and the alternatives. And also they sent me a bunch of articles about some of the people that are selected for the private police. So some of the Hopkins private police members have been selected from the Baltimore private police, and a lot of them have had like on their criminal record in the past issues with excessive brutality, racism, just all around like not the kind of people we want to promote diversity and inclusion on campus. In addition, if anybody wants more clarification or wants to help get involved with this fight against the private police force outside of SGA, please message me and I will get you in contact with Colin, who is my liaison with this. I support signing this as well. That's all with me.
Thanks, Brianna. All right, if anyone has anything else to say, you guys can do it now. Otherwise, we can have a motion. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Suba.
I just kind of wanted to say that for like the alternatives, it's not really like students' jobs to come up with like alternatives to like how the campus can be safe, but like as SGA, we should kind of just recognize that the private police force is not the option to go with. It's not really our job to come up with the other ones, because that's, as students, that shouldn't be left up to us. That's from admin, and like that is their responsibility to do that for students.
Thanks, Uba. Yeah, does anyone else want to speak on this? If not, we can move motion to end the moderate caucus. We have around a minute left, and then someone can motion for something else if they want.
Motion to move into voting.
Okay. First we have to motion to end the moderate caucus.
Motion to end the moderated caucus.
Awesome. Could I get a second?
Second.
Okay. And then all in favor of ending the moderate caucus, please go to the participants tab and click yes. Awesome. Okay. So we have 15 people. Okay. And now Ty, you can motion for anything else.
Okay. I want to motion into moving to voting.
Okay. Could I get a second for that?
Seconded.
Awesome. Okay. All in favor of moving to voting procedure, please hit the yes underneath participants tab. And if you're against it, hit the no. If you're abstaining, then hit the away button. Awesome. Okay. So now that we have 17 people, now we're in voting procedure. So all in favor of SGA signing the letter on behalf of us, like as an organization, go and hit the yes button.
Please remember not to vote yes unless you're a member of SGA.
Yes, that as well.
And I know we had a couple SGA members leave. I am aware of that. It looks like it passes unanimously.
Awesome. Okay. So this passes unanimously. So Sam will go and he'll sign on our behalf. And yeah, that brings a close to our new business and to our prospective business, since we already did announcements and advancing legislation. And that brings us to public input period. So if anyone from the public wants to say anything or communicate anything to us now, you can raise your hand. Yeah, you can go ahead, Michelle. Did I say that correctly?
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having this meeting. I just want to say, of course, I support. Of course, I support the police reform bill, and so thank you for Sam for bringing that up. I wanted to go back to the bill about student organizations. I find it a bit, I guess, condescending that people have said upperclassmen, lose interest in student organizations. I am very involved with student organizations. I'm part of the Taekwondo Club and the Consulting Club, and I've spent my entire summer getting things virtual, talking to firms, doing things pretty much every single day and writing emails every single day. And so I just want to put it out there that upperclassmen do not lose interest. I think I agree with Cece that, our interest builds because we see the inefficiencies that happen and we have the passion and the experience to change it. So I just want to say that. And then some advice for the bill. I know there hasn't been planned logistics for that yet, but I think a good point and a good idea to have is to have the organizations split into the kind of club they are. So there's sports club, there's CLE clubs, there's multicultural clubs, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think, just saying 3 to 4 organizations each person is a bit vague. And I think, segmenting it by the way that clubs are already segmented is a perfect way to do things efficiently and to get everyone on board, especially the freshmen, faster. So you can have guides for the kind of clubs they are, get an understanding of who these clubs are and why they, ask for money for these things or why they do these certain things. I know I'm taking a lot of time, but just want to put that suggestion out there. And if you have any questions about, student orgs in my personal experience, since I've been on orgs for the past 3 years, I've been here at Hopkins, please just email me. And yeah, thank you.
Michelle, can you just send your email in the chat so I can add it to the notes?
Yes.
And thank you.
Yeah, Michelle. All right. Anyone else from the public want to do a little input? Just remember.
Also, in public input, you can talk about whatever. Like if you guys have questions about what the university is doing, if you have questions about how SGA works, this is your time to address literally anything you want to. Go for it.
Okay, I don't think there's anyone else in the public. Okay, so for now, the meeting is going to come to a close. You guys can, if someone could motion for the meeting to end, and then a second after that. So,
Motion to end the meeting.
Awesome. Could I get a second?
Second.
All right. So the meeting is ended. Thank you guys all for coming. And then me and some members from exec will just stay in case anyone wants to ask anything else.
You can turn on your videos now if you're staying.
Yes.
Feel free. We're all on level ground here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone.
Oh yeah, thanks for coming.
Sorry if I yelled at you.
Jim, you're so aggressive all the time. What the heck?
Brianna, I was wondering if it would be possible to join the Latinx caucus.
Yeah.
Need more people there. I'd be happy.
Yeah,
to.
we definitely do. I'm actually looking for a co-chair right now because I am a busy little bumblebee and I want this to be a big thing. So Elkis was my co-chair and then Corona happened and he graduated. And then Sebastian was also my my co-chair and then he didn't run for SGA again. So if you're interested, I would love that. I will message you on GroupMe. I think you're in there. Thank you for everybody who came, by the way. I'm gonna let you all know that the incoming freshman chats have been popping off since throughout the whole meeting.
Brianna.
Oh yeah, please stop.
Sam, how do you turn off the live?
Should be the same way you turn it on.
Okay, let me just give me a second, guys.